Good evening, everyone. This is Astroscoop live stream for February 3rd, 2024. YouTube friends all around the world, how are you? It is, this is my number 6 live stream. I believe it's episode number 6. So we're a little more than a month in. And before we start, I hope that the other countries that have been watching me, other than the United States, please comment and let me know where you're watching from, your age group, and also maybe your zodiac sign and what kind of astrology that you follow in your country. Because as I look at my YouTube stats, it's very interesting to see the other countries that are following me. And I mentioned in my video yesterday, so check out, I have an Aquarius video from yesterday about coaching Aquarius, and we will get into that in a moment, mentoring and coaching, that Argentina is the #1 country watching me right now. So I have more than half of my views are from Argentina. The US is in the top 5, but Argentina and a couple other countries are comprising close to 3/4 of all my views. So that's hundreds or thousands of views. So I truly appreciate it. If anyone from any of those countries actually sees this, I truly, truly appreciate it. Excuse me, I have this tickle in my throat. I think it's still a leftover from my flu a couple weeks ago. I feel fine, but this tickle is just not good. Sorry about that. So I hope everyone is well. Happy February. We are in true Aquarius fashion and true Aquarian time for the zodiac, for the 12 signs. And we will enter Pisces in about, I believe, 17 days or so. So it's a little less than 3 weeks left of Aquarius. So for any of you born in late January up until February 18th or 19th, depending on your year, you're in Aquarius and you're having the sun conjunct your birth sun. So you're having a solar return, which is so cool. So happy birthday to everyone. Now let's check the chat. So I have a feeling this is going to be a light group. We have one right now. Thank you for attending. And we had a couple others that were supposed to come, but they were not able to. So they will catch it on the replay either later tonight or tomorrow. So no worries. That's a beautiful thing. So Astroscoop, Aquarius, we're in the Aquarius 2 period. Last week I talked about we were coming off the Capricorn Aquarius cusp and we were coming into Aquarius 1, which is all about the decans. And that just means tens, 30 degrees in a sign, 10, 10, and 10. So now we're in the Aquarius 2 period, as you can see up here. And the Aquarius 2 period is the Gemini decan. So it's ruled by Uranus, and then the sub-ruler influence is Mercury. So a lot of astrologers, traditional astrologers, Western astrologers go way back for decades using the decans to kind of fine-tune, or decanates, to fine-tune the sun sign. And you can also use that for other placements. But it gives you good indication why 2 or 3 different Aquarians are different. And it's not only because they have a different moon sign or a different rising and all those other planets, but it's also because they're decans. So an Aquarius born last week is a Uranus ruled Aquarian, ruled by Uranus and sub-ruled by Uranus, double Uranus. So an Aquarian born this week coming up is a Uranus Aquarius, but sub-ruled by Mercury, which is Gemini influence. So that's a lot different. And then the next one we'll talk about next week as we get into almost the last decanate of Aquarius before the Aquarius Pisces cusp is the Libra or Venus decanate, which is the last one of Aquarius. So those all flavor Aquarius people born in any particular week in a certain way. And that's also another ruler to look at in your birth chart. So if you have an astrologer looking at your birth chart or giving you a reading, they can look at Uranus, but they can also look at, for example, this week, if someone's born February 4th or 5th, I would look at Uranus in their chart, but I would also look at Mercury, because they would probably be a strongly Mercury person as well. And I would look to see if Mercury's in Aquarius or Capricorn, and sort of put that together. But Aquarius, the Aquarius 2 period that we're in, is definitely a talented decade for Aquarius. Now, I mentioned weeks ago that Aquarius is all about natural intelligence, and Aquarius is about universal intelligence. But Aquarians born this week add the Mercury flavor, and the Gemini influence can cause them to be either lighthearted and great with ideas, or possibly slightly superficial and not liking things in life that are too heavy or too serious. But again, you have to put that together with what is in the rest of the chart. And that's what a good astrologer does, or a great astrologer, is putting it all together. So for any of you that watch this, if you see this in the future and you haven't had your chart read, but you're into astrology, you have to do it, because it's just, there's no words for it. It's just amazing. If you get someone that really tunes into your chart, they will uncover things that are really, really interesting. And some things are often obvious that you could say, well, anyone can figure that out. I'm an air sign, or I have this out. But there are certain things in there, if you've never had your chart read, I highly recommend it. And it's a really, really good thing. And even if you don't agree with the reader, it will help you on your journey. If you're teaching yourself, or you're taking a course, or you're reading a beginner's astrology book, it will get you on your way, especially if you learn to read your chart and start step by step. That's really cool. So Aquarius 2 people have that Gemini influence this week, and Aquarius 2 people that I've known born this week, they're interesting. They're kind of a combination of laid back and humble, but also intellectually, I wouldn't say arrogant, but I would say intellectually somewhat elitist, kind of. The thing about Aquarius is, we talked about this before. Aquarius is all about the knowledge base. So Aquarians have a lot of knowledge, and they usually live lives gaining that knowledge and acquiring it. It's not always for just practical purposes, like a Virgo. Like a Virgo would gather data and facts and knowledge to use for practical purposes. And Capricorn, that we just said, Capricorn would also do that to learn a new skill and to apply that in their career or work, or community. But Aquarius is entertaining different kinds of ideas. Some are practical, some are universal, and some are offbeat, way out there. So Aquarians born this decade, they have a strong intelligence, but that's also youthful. There's a youthfulness to people born this week, which again can go either way. It could be fun, or it could be a little superficial, or possibly immature. So I look at it as people born this week. Aquarians don't tend to look their age, and they don't act their age. And whether you think that's a good thing or not, it's up to you. But yeah, they generally are very youthful. I worked with an Aquarian that was born this week, and I think at the time he was in his late 30s. He was close to 40, and I thought he was probably around 26 or 27 when I met him, the way he looked and acted. But I think he was 37 or 38. And then I had a friend years ago. She was born this week, and she also looked extremely young, very youthful. She was an astrologer, and also definitely had a incredibly youthful way about her. And not all Aquarians are going to have that. The reason I emphasize the youthfulness for this decanate is because Aquarians, if you go back to traditional and modern astrology, and you look at the rulers of Uranus and Saturn, Aquarius's previous ruler was Saturn for a period, which is that heavy, more serious planet, which is so different than the Gemini Mercury energy. So some Aquarius planets in charts, depending on the aspects, can act very serious and profound, can have profound, serious thoughts, just like Capricorn, and vice versa. So that's why Capricorn and Aquarius planets that are often in the charts of Aquarius people, Aquarius people often have Capricorn planets. It's a very interesting mixture of being youthful and airy and a little woo-woo, a little out there, right? But also profound and serious. And one thing I want to mention about Aquarius that I think Aquarius doesn't get credit for is I see a lot of blogs and people that write sort of these flippant, glib articles about each sign, and they often talk about Aquarians as being cold, right? Cold and detached. Well, can't any sign be cold and detached if we're not insecure, if we're afraid, or someone fears intimacy or whatever? Thing about Aquarius is that is true. Certainly, some Aquarians can be cold, but it's in the eye of the beholder. Cold is because the way I look at it is the Aquarius planet, for as strongly mental as it is, and as lightning fast that you can think and come up with ideas and change things and transform. Uranus is a transformer, a changer, and the winds of Aquarius, they blow away things that are stuffy and outdated. That's the easy way to say it. Just stuffy, outdated, boring. The winds of change. You know, the Scorpions. There's a rock group, a German rock group from the 70s and 80s that had a lot of success in the States, named the Scorpions, and they had a song called "Winds of Change." Now, Klaus Meine, the lead singer, he's a Gemini, but it's so airy. It's such air sign. You know, to me, it's such air sign music and writing, songwriting. But yeah, Winds of Change by the Scorpions. Check that out. It's a ballad. But yeah, Aquarians can be cold, but it's more so because Aquarians prefer to spectate. They prefer to observe from a distance. It's like a safety thing, I think, with Aquarius. And they are shy. I think, you know, the Aquarius energy can be gregarious, it can be outlandish, it could be eccentric, even loud and weird. But Aquarius energy it's I don't know. There's something out of the three air signs. I would say Aquarius is probably the shyest, more so than Gemini or Libra, generally speaking. It's shy in a different way than like a Virgo or a Pisces or a Cancer, maybe. It's a different kind of shyness. But if any of you in the future, if you're an Aquarius and you see this, please comment below and let me know. Are your Aquarius planets shy? You could be friendly and very social at your job or in a community or a group or church. But when it comes down to expressing with a small group or one-on-one, or expressing what you're thinking or feeling, there might be that shyness there. So that's why I think Aquarians are seen as cold. An unevolved, immature Aquarius certainly can be cold because they have that ability to just detach and not feel other people's feelings, not necessarily empathize. So Aquarians can do that. They can remove themselves very easily and cut people off if they need to. So there's that kind of thing. But I think Aquarians deserve that credit, especially Aquarians in this decade, even though they're youthful. There's a caring about Aquarius that's unique. It's so different than all the other signs. It's different than the water signs caring, or the earth signs supporting and caring, and being fruitful. It's a brotherhood. It's a brotherhood or sisterhood kind of caring, if that makes sense. And that's what Aquarius is about. No other sign has that. It's that brotherhood and sisterhood. So Aquarius sees you. You could have an Aquarius relative, and yet you could become, just friends with them. You're like a brother or sister, even though there's a different dynamic, a son and a son and a parent, or a daughter and a parent, or a grandparent and a grandchild. But anytime I've known people with major Aquarius in their chart, more so Sun Aquarius, Moon, rising, or stelliums, there's a sense of, they will often call you brother or sister. Hey brother, hey sister. That's just kind of natural. So, and that's also why Aquarians can seem cold or uncaring, because Aquarians, especially Aquarians born in this decade, are treating people equally. So they might be friendly and to me and call me brother, and 10 minutes later they talk to someone else and they're saying, hey sister, what's happening? So it kind of seems like, it doesn't seem like you're special, right? It doesn't seem, it seems like you're not the only person in the room. So that's something interesting about Aquarius. But I have to say that because it's all balance and it's involvement and maturity. But Aquarians can be, this is a good experiment. When I was in college, I did a presentation for a communications class, and I entitled it Astrology in Music. So this was when I was like 19 or 20. And I played snippets of songs with the singers or songwriters that were of a certain sign, and then I explained it. I explained how they communicated it, and I explained it in terms of the class, but also with the astrology. And in those days, I had only been into astrology maybe a year or two seriously. So I was learning. I was not great. I was okay, but I had a sense for it. But I could listen to music and start to pick out, wow. So I remember playing in the class to my classmates, Phil Collins, who's the ex-lead singer of Genesis and who's a solo singer, Phil Collins. And I'm sure everyone knows who that is. And he's just amazing. He is amazing. He's got some bad songs and some watered down, kind of cheesy, sappy songs that didn't do well. But his hits and his stuff with Genesis, he is brilliant. Oh my God. If you listen to any Genesis stuff, anybody that's classically trained as a pianist or a keyboardist, if you listen to Genesis, the song structures, that, oh my gosh. And Phil was the drummer then, and then he became the singer. Just unbelievable. And there was also Peter Gabriel was in the band, and he's also an Aquarius. So Genesis was fronted by 2 Aquarius males. So make that what you wish. Whoa. But yeah, he's amazing. And when I did that presentation, I talked about how there was so much feeling in his singing. But again, he's singing to the group, right? He's singing to brothers and sisters. He's not necessarily singing to one person. I know he wrote some songs about his ex-wife, one of his turbulent marriages that he had, and the divorce he was going through. So he did that. But, obviously he was putting his clarity into a medium where kind of anyone could relate to it. So that's the beauty of Aquarius, with that there is caring and feeling there, but it's more broad. And that's why people might one-on-one or in a small group or even in a family setting feel that the Aquarian person, especially this period, Aquarius 2 people with the Gemini influence, as kind of cold. And so, yeah, I would not generally, I don't think it's fair to say most Aquarians are cold. Are most Aquarians detached? Probably, yeah. And that's automatically cold to some people. So it depends on the relationship, and what you're looking for, kind of thing. But if you know that about Aquarius, you know that going into it. So, if you're armed with that information, then that Aquarius person isn't automatically going to they're not going to be the villain, right? Because you know that about them. And then they might know to you more about you, that maybe you're more attached and they're more detached. So you have to see if you can meet in the middle and sort of thing. So the Aquarius 2 period, this is the next week. Gemini, this is a good time for all of us to use technology. You know, we're all in right now. Most areas have cold, dark winter right now. Hopefully for not too much longer, but it's a good time to kind of master technology and use anything with electricity safely, because Uranus is all about electricity. So this is definitely a good time to communicate, but specifically communicate with technology, which is what I'm doing right now, and which is what we're all doing. Um, and so that's an interesting thing. So yesterday I had my video, or no, maybe I posted it this morning. Yeah, I think it was this morning. The video, how to mentor Aquarius using astrology. And I've mentioned this previously in my videos, that I think one thing that makes me stand out as an astrologer, which it's really hard these days to stand out as an astrologer. There there's so many different types of astrologers all over the world, all ages, you know, from 20s to 70s. And so whatever age bracket we're in, it's really hard to stand out. But I think one thing that helps me stand out is the mentoring or coaching kind of process that I put into it. So in my previous jobs, I've done mentoring and interviewing and that sort of thing. So I kind of bring some of that knowledge and some of that expertise into how I would use that, giving someone a reading or helping them map out life goals or do a vision board, or you know, something along those lines. So I think that's what makes me unique in a sense, is bringing those together. And sometimes I use more than one, and then the other. I remember I coached a Sagittarius Capricorn cusp woman from Malaysia once, years ago, and I met her at Starbucks and coached her in person. And she was a last degree Sag, almost Capricorn, but she was and remains to this day the most difficult person I've ever tried to read for or coach. She was so difficult. Now I know that's just my opinion. But she even said it. She said, I'm a really hard sell. I'm a really tough nut to crack. And she was really hard to help. And, but she, you know, she had the Sag and the Capricorn there. But by knowing astrology, she let me do her chart. So having the astrology piece, she wanted me to just coach her. She was a small business owner and she wanted me to help her just move ahead with her goals and kind of eliminate the clutter in her life so she could get organized and focused. She was very unfocused, but very talented. She had 2 master's degrees and you know, ambitious, but she was very tough. And when I mentioned the mentoring and coaching part with astrology, she was very skeptical of it. The sort of the Capricorn part of her on that cusp was very skeptical. She did let me, after 3 or 4 sessions, she did let me help her a little bit. But to this day, she remains probably my toughest. So I wonder if that's the Sagittarius Capricorn part of her, or something else in her chart. I don't remember her chart. It was not a gentle chart. It was a very, very powerful, strong chart. So, but that's interesting. That's the mentoring with astrology. So how would if you're an Aquarius person, or you had a stellium in Aquarius, let's say you had the Moon, Mercury, and Venus, or Mars in your chart, or in our Aquarius rising, how would I mentor or coach you using astrology? Well, the first thing I would do, and these are kind of similar to my video, but please check out my video and you'll see some of the points I made. Now this is for all Aquarius, but this is also a little more specific to Aquarians born this week, which is the Aquarius 2. But space. So what does that mean? So we all need and require space to become who we are, right? We need support from those that love us. We need support from people, but we don't need people to smother us. So that's what Aquarius teaches the other signs. There's no need to smother. You can take the S out and you can mother, right? You can mother someone and you can father someone sufficiently, even from a distance, and care about them. But if you don't smother them, you let them grow, you let them bloom, right? You let them bloom to an extent if you're not a helicopter person. So space, give an Aquarius space to be who they are right away. I coached an Aquarius guy a few years ago. He was a occupational therapist. He was in the medical field, but he hated it because he was a musician, and he had all these offbeat hobbies and ideas and talents, but he couldn't make money at any of them. He was very unfocused and scattered. He was doing too many things, and so he became a therapist. But he said that he didn't like having kind of a traditional job that was boring to him, but he had a good job and he was making good money. So he was hoping to save money and then maybe do music part-time or something like that. But yeah, I mean, he told me right off the bat when I met him, I'm weird. He said that, I'm weird. And I said, okay, if you're an Aquarius, I bet. Yeah, I'm sure you are. So space is important. Freedom. I know that's a general concept. We all love freedom, right? But that goes along with space, especially with Aquarians born in this decade, that Gemini. Freedom. I mean, if I'm going to help coach an Aquarius person that has that sense of freedom, that I have to connect with them and I have to influence them. I have to influence you, but I can't do it. I can't tell you what to do, right? It's Aquarius with all this air energy and the Mercury. That's not having. It's like, no, you don't need to tell me what to do. I kind of already know what to do. It may not be the way you want it, but it's the way I want it. So I would definitely use that concept of freedom to not tell them what to do and suggest things that are along their lines of thinking that they've already presented. So present a similar line of thinking, but maybe a slightly different way, but not a completely left turn, not a complete left turn. That's very important. And then individualistic. Oh my goodness. So all Aquarians are individuals, right? So Aquarians can be very attached to the group or humanity. They can be really fun in a family or group or club setting. But yet they always will remain, for the most part, that Aquarius planet will remain detached and remain individualistic and keep a certain center, certain space for themselves. Again, is that protection? Is that fear? Is that shyness? Is that being reticent to engage with people because that might mean expressing heavy thoughts or heavy emotions? I don't know. That's a possibility, but that's a big part, is the individualistic right here. Really, really big. And people born this week in the Gemini period, because there's Mercury, there's a little more flexibility. They would be good actors. I think this is a great week for actors or actresses, because they could be an individual and unique, but also maybe can change who they are a little bit and be a little more flexible, a little more of a chameleon than Aquarians that are born closer to Capricorn. I think that's a possibility, and they might have a gift of gab as well. So individualistic. So now with all these positives, if I'm coaching an Aquarius, strongly Aquarius person, I have to also keep in mind that the Aquarian person can, if I push too hard, or if I'm not pleasant, or I don't know, bossy, or I just think if I used a different approach that Aquarius doesn't believe in, then the Aquarius person in some way, either overtly or quietly, will most likely rebel against that. And you'll feel it. So that rebelliousness can come out very easily. and also the ability to be contrary. You know, it's wonderful to entertain different ideas. That's what Libra is all about. And it's great. But that Aquarian energy with all the space and the individualistic can also, the negative can become too contrary. And sometimes you have to just grease the wheel and agree with people, not in a fake way, or not, it's not fake or insincere, because that's not good. And you don't want to do that. You wouldn't want to do that for any length of time. But sometimes if someone is somewhat right, give that to them. And that can be hard for Aquarius. That could be hard for some people that have strong Aquarius planets, especially Mercury in Aquarius. That can be hard. I mentioned in my live stream last week or the week before, I mentioned the Mars in Aquarius placement being very detached, because that's the energy. And that can be a person that wants to be at the forefront socially. They want to be at the top socially because they have the strong mental inclinations, and Mars is their energy. So the contrary nature, the rebellious nature, it's there. Again, that really depends on maturity level. Anybody can be rebellious if pushed enough, right? But Aquarius it's like it's in the fabric of Aquarius. It's in there. And especially with males. Now, I'm not stereotyping and judging all males, but most of the males, it's very rare that I've ever met a male that has had strong Aquarius in their chart that I've been able to connect with for any length of time. The long term isn't there. So that could just be a dynamic with me, with my fixity or a sort of thing. But the Aquarius male can be, you know, the Aquarius energy in the male can be really fun and really lively, very companionable, can be really fun with, you know, entertainment and music or sports, that sort of thing, a fun companion. But I've definitely seen the contrary and rebellious sides. That's very strong. So that's also what can keep, that's also to keep people at a distance, right? So especially with Aquarius males. So if they want to keep you at a distance, they might act like that. So it might be purposeful as well. All right, so here we have two people. Oh, we have one person now. We had two, whoever that was. Thank you. So we're about a half hour in. So this is, I know this is really light here. My Sharpie ran out and I did the rest with pen. So that's that. But yeah, that's a little bit on how I would mentor Aquarius. And I'll probably talk more about that in future live streams in general, about when I start talking more about dynamics between signs and relationships between different signs, and try to get into the real essence and energy of compatibility, and not just superficially, like I mentioned last week, Aquarius being compatible with Gemini and Libra because it's a trine. A trine is a flow and an ease, kind of a natural friendship, which it can be. But it can also be too easy. It can be where there's no growth or there's no challenge, kind of thing. So we'll talk more about those types of things. And please check out my How to Mentor Aquarius video. And I have an Aquarius video from last year on what motivates Aquarius. That's also interesting. That goes along with the mentoring. So let's talk about Uranus. So the planet Uranus, which rules Aquarius, William Herschel is the individual who discovered Uranus in 1871. So he was an astronomer and a musician, composer. He was a Scorpio. I believe he was born November 15th. So for most people, that would be considered Scorpio. But apparently he was, as an astronomer, he was in the spring of that year looking at the constellation of Gemini. And this, I didn't know this. So it was the constellation of Gemini. And then he saw a little blip and it was unnamed. And I'm not sure exactly how he came up with Uranus, but he coined it. He coined it Uranus in 1871. So that's pretty cool. And it's part of the constellation of Gemini, which is interesting. And that's also interesting because, you know, the Aquarius has a Mercury Gemini decanate. And then the fixed stars indicate certain temperaments according to the degrees from various astronomers and astrologers like Ptolemy, and there's many others that put in different fixed star meanings based on based on the place in the constellation. You know, whether it's the dog or the lion or whatever, the crab, and then relating it to a degree and a certain temperament. Whether it's Venus temperament on Mars, a Saturnian Sirius temperament, that sort of thing. So we're not going to talk about fixed stars tonight, but maybe I'll do a live stream on that separately. But that's interesting about Uranus there, 1871. And that also coincides with what I mentioned in the 1700s when Pluto was in Capricorn, and Pluto is now in Aquarius, which hasn't happened in 243 years. So that's interesting. From the late 1700s to the late 1800s, almost 100 years later, we have Uranus discovered. And then shortly after that, there was a little technological revolution. I believe it was the late 1870s with aerospace and technology, and I think radio. You know, Uranus rules radio and television and media to some extent. Some of that's Mercury, but also Uranus as well. So that's interesting to me, you know, right after that. So any of our ancestors that were born let's see, between 1875 and 1890, towards the turn of the century, were born right after Uranus was discovered, and then also with that little bit of technology boom. I mean, I know it's pretty little compared to today, but still, for that time, that must have been huge. That was a huge, you know, groundbreaking kind of thing. So, so we have the Uranus constellation Gemini synthesis. Aquarius is really a synthesis between the body, mind, and soul, and that's kind of a wisdom from some of the mythology I've been reading lately about Aquarius from different periods, from the Egyptian period, Assyrian, Babylonian, and also some Chinese, some Asian references as well. It's really body, mind, and soul, and that the Aquarian age that history has gone through. So it's really, really interesting. And it's also the technology of people too. Like we have artificial intelligence. We've had it for a while, but it's here. It's kind of being implemented. Apple has a device called the Vision Pro, I guess, that just came out. It's like some kind of VR headset, and it's supposed to be like incredible real life reality sort of thing. I think it's thousands of dollars. I think it's $4,000 or $5,000. So I don't know who's going to buy that, but these are the times we're living in, and you know, smartphones and laptops and everything are getting so. It's amazing, like these little computers. Everything's becoming little computers, and that has been for a good 5-10 years now. So that's pretty interesting. But that really is what Aquarius is about. It's a synthesis. And one of the myths I was reading about this weekend is the American Indians. There was one anecdotal narrative about that a shaman wrote that they considered Aquarius the Earth Mother. So even though Aquarius is not an Earth sign, Aquarius got coined an air sign. So Aquarius is the water bearer, the water of life. So it's not actually water because it's not a water sign. A lot of people think Aquarius is a water sign. There's water imagery, but it's not a water sign. So it's it's pouring the water of life and the urn, an urn of knowledge, and pouring that all over people, all over humanity, and that's the all-knowing. So American Indians called her Earth Mother, water of life, translated to water of life. The Algonquins, so that tribe, there was two different ones I found that were Algonquins, and apparently called her Nokomis, not I don't think it's Nokomis, Nokomis, meaning grandmother. So how cool is that? So I think in astrology, I think astrologers in general, modern astrologers today on social media are not going to consider Aquarians in general the grandmother or grandfather of the zodiac. That might be Cancer. Cancer is often referred to as the mother. But Aquarius is the 11th sign in the zodiac. So if you look, here we have, if you look at a wheel here, these are the 12 houses. So the 11th house, the 11th house is all the way at the end here. And then the 12th house completes this 360-degree circle. So you have that. So if it being that it's one of the last signs, the last quadrant of the zodiac, there's a lot of wisdom there because we went through all these other initiations of signs to get to Aquarius throughout history. So you could argue that Aquarius is grandmotherly or has wisdom, like Capricorn. But that's very interesting. I would have never thought of that, that the water of life would be the Earth Mother or grandmother. I think that's the first time I've ever mentioned Aquarius in that way. But I'll have to do a little more research on the Indians and see why they considered Aquarius, the Aquarius energy, or the symbols, the symbology of that air sign, equated to that. I think that's pretty cool. That's very unique, grandmother. So here are some celebrity birthdays that are born this weekend. So they would be right on the cusp of Aquarius 1 going into Aquarius 2. So Magellan, the explorer, Elizabeth Blackwell, she was the first woman to become an official physician. So that's pretty cool. She was obviously a trailblazer and an innovator. Imagine being the first woman. It was hard enough to become a physician back in those days anyways, but a woman to become, that's amazing. So she's the first woman. I'll have to look up her chart to see, in terms of medical astrology, what else might be there. Lowell Tolhurst, his name is Lawrence. He's an English keyboardist with The Cure, which is a goth rock pop band from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And their music is really, really moody and interesting. And being an Aquarius, he adds a really nice, airy keyboard element to the group. The group's music's very moody, but he adds this nice, airy element with his keyboards, and he also does the drums too. Lowell Tolhurst. And Laura, another one is born this weekend, is Laura Linney. And back in the day in the 90s, I never cared for Laura Linney much as an actress. I thought she was okay, but I thought she was a little overrated, and I just didn't care for her characters that much. But one movie which I saw her in from a while ago is called Mystic River. That's a really intense kind of crime movie, and that has an amazing cast. That's Sean Penn, Tim Robbins. I think it might be Kevin Bacon, Laura Linney. There's a lot of heavyweight actors in that movie, in Mystic River. And it's very much a guy movie, but it has a good dramatic plot twist in it. And she's in that. But also she was recently, in the last few years, she was in a series called Ozark. And I think I mentioned this a year or two ago when I talked about Jason Bateman, who was the lead actor, and he's a Capricorn of Ozark. I know I mentioned Jason in one of my Capricorn videos. And Laura was the female lead, and she played Jason's wife in the show Ozark, the series. And it's on Netflix. and it's amazing. It's one of my favorite Netflix series of all time. It's so good, and it's about this family that Marty Bird, played by Jason Bateman, who's a Capricorn. Marty Bird is I think he's an accountant or CPA, and he has just this normal, good variety job, but then he gets manipulated and extorted to launder money. So because he's financially savvy, he has to move to the Ozarks with his family. And the reason they pick him is because they're just this kind of normal looking, everyday Joe kind of Caucasian family. So they move to the Ozarks, right on the water there, with the boats and, the forest and the balmy, steamy weather and everything. And he has to start laundering money through these businesses, primarily a casino there, and he has to do it very carefully. And then there's all these threats, constant threats if he doesn't do it on his life and his family. And there's all these quirky, odd characters. It's really, really well done. It's one of the best. I think it's one of the best TV series probably in the last 30, 40 years. I highly recommend Ozark. It drags a little bit in like the second or third season there. So it's kind of hard to get through it. If you give up and then try to go back, it's kind of hard, but it's really, really well done. But I digress. Laura Linney, she won me over in that series. And I think it's for two reasons. One is she's older. She's just a mature, middle-aged woman in it. So I feel like she has more gravitas. She has more gravitas, more intelligence, and she has a wisdom about her that I think life has given her. In her early days, I thought she was kind of cocky and kind of a know-it-all. So she was playing characters, but I think she was playing her Aquarian self a little bit there when she was young, and she thought, who the heck she was. But in this series, she plays her Aquarian. Her character is very intelligent, and she's at odds, but also in unity with her husband, who's also very smart. But she's so smart that she's kind of like a step ahead of him. And she's doing it to protect herself because she's always sensing that he's lying to her or that there's lies. So Aquarius is about truth. Aquarians don't like lies. So it's interesting that she picked this particular series, this character to play. And she plays it with an equal like seriousness, and also she's kind of lighthearted and a little flippant and a little rebellious, kind of middle-aged rebellious. She's there for her family and her husband, but she's also like, what the heck? Like, forget you. Like, she's like kind of blowing things off, and so she straddles that balance really well with Aquarius about caring and her detachment. And she's playing a character, but I think she's playing herself. But she won me over. Laura Linney won me over in that series. Laura Linney and Jason Bateman, unbelievable. And there's also other supporting familiar characters from other like Showtime or HBO or Amazon Prime type movies or series that are in there that are really, really good. So I don't get paid for that. It's not a sponsor or anything. So just giving a natural review there. I highly recommend that for Laura Linney. But she's one of the more interesting Aquarius people. So when we started, I forgot to mention some of the more some other little details about Aquarius. So the Aquarius flower is the snowdrop, according to one mythological book. That's interesting. I don't even know what the snowdrop is. Is that a spring flower, or I don't know. If you know, let me know. I didn't really look it up, but the amethyst is the Aquarius gem or jewel. I'm not sure about this. One book I have says the Aquarius is related to the number 4 in numerology, but that's also related to Cancer because Cancer is the 4th sign. So I'm not exactly sure about that. Although the number 4 is a loyal, service-oriented sign, and it can be practical and service-oriented, which Aquarius can certainly be, and certainly help out the public and help out those that are unfortunate. That's definitely something that Aquarius could vibe with. So maybe 4 is a good energy. And then Aquarius rules the ankles and calves. So it's recommended that anyone with strong Aquarius in their chart or Uranus aspects be careful of accidents with ankles or calves. And that would be interesting to know from, especially, I mean, I would be thinking more so the Mars Aquarius, because Mars is pure energy. So I would thinking Mars, the suddenness of Mars could cause accidents, depending on the aspects. But also, if someone had a personal planet like the Moon in Aquarius, which is the emotions, the Moon is like the stomach, but that can also be thrown off if someone had, foot problems. Everything's related, in your body, everything's connected. So that's kind of interesting. Um, so the ankles and calves, that's one part of it. And another thing I was going to mention about the Aquarius 2 period is that Aquarius, the when Aquarius started in January, we were on the Capricorn Aquarius cusp. So then you had the cusp of 2 signs. And I always mention in my cusp videos that I I truly stand behind the fact that when you're a cusp person, you have the traits of both signs, undoubtedly, but you are only one sign. You can't be both signs. You can't be, well, I'm half a Capricorn, I'm half Aquarius. No, you're definitely going to identify with more than one sign. And I've had people that have commented that have said, I'm a 29 Capricorn, but I feel more like an Aquarius. And they're like literally an hour or 2 away from being an Aquarius. So if you're that close to the next sign, you have very strong traits of both, but you can only be one. So if you're a last degree Capricorn or Aquarius. So if you're a cusp person, you would have both of that. Then last week, the Aquarius is the true energy from all of Uranus. So it's like coming up on Uranus energy. And then this week, as I mentioned, is the Mercury decadent. And there's just that more youthfulness. So it's like Aquarius getting its groove in the zodiac. And also, we're getting to the end of the cycle of the zodiac. We only have one more sign after Aquarius. So on March 21st, I think it is, we're going to start spring, and the cycle, Aries is going to start the zodiac cycle all over again, according to the zodiac signs. So we're in Aquarius now. We're in the first week of February. But think about that. Aries is going to start in less than 2 months. So Aquarius is at the very end. So this Aquarius period is very youthful, but there's still a lot of wisdom. And then as we go into next week and we go into the Venus decadent, there's more of a Libra influence. And then that's getting closer to the Aquarius Pisces cusp, which I definitely have to do a video for because that's one of my favorite cusps. The Aquarius Pisces cusp is really, really interesting. Excuse me. Aquarius Pisces cusp has so many interesting actors, actresses, and musicians on it. And it's such a beautiful blend of sensitivity and, being a kind of an outlaw or a maverick, or, a loose cannon kind of thing. When you combine Aquarius and Pisces, whoa, that's like, wow, that's could be really, really out there. They can entertain ideas and thoughts that would blow away a lot of other people. Oh, and Space Hotel, the gentleman, the British musician that I have reviewed his and talked about his chart being a Pisces. I believe he's born February 22nd. So I'll have to mention him later on. I'm not sure if he's still watching any of my videos, but he definitely talked about mentioned to me that he realized he was strongly Aquarian when he realized he was on a cusp. So he's like a 3 or 4 degree Pisces, but he's on a cusp. So that's very, very important. So, but this week is that true Aquarius still with a touch of the Mercury Gemini. And then next week is still Aquarius, but it's starting to trail off as it gets closer to that Pisces Aries cusp, which is pretty cool. All right, so we have a few minutes left. I'm just going to take a look at the transits here. I'm sorry I don't have it on the screen. I'm still tinkering with software, having some technical difficulties. When I do my videos, I have a different software that I use that I'm familiar with. That's why I'm able to do a screenshot. I can snap like a camera. I can snap the wheel, and I can show. That's how I can show you the wheel in my videos, and I can point to certain things. I'm usually pointing at like Uranus or Jupiter or Saturn for the transits. But so I'm still working on software with the live stream where I can switch to me and have the camera on the computer screen, or even a different part, maybe a different angle or something where I could have a standing, maybe I'll get a standing board and do the wheel. That might be fun. But so now we're at 14 degrees of Aquarius. Last week we were at 7. Pluto is at 0 of Aquarius. Still, it's going to be, so we've gone from 0.13 to 0.27 of Pluto. So keep in mind, for any of you that are following astrologers that are mentioning the Pluto and Aquarius, and I did a search last week with my family, and I searched in YouTube, just YouTube, no other outlet, just YouTube. I put in Pluto and Aquarius astrology videos, and the amount of videos that came up were astronomical. It was like hundreds, thousand. So, and it's just unbelievable how popular this is and how relevant it is, and how people feel like this is knowledge that we need to pass on to people to kind of be strong and to transform and be kind of a better version of yourself. So this Pluto, so don't the Aquarius planets, I mean, you're going to get a conjunction, but it's going to take forever. It's going to be a long time. If you have an Aquarius planet that's 15 or 20 degrees, it's going to take a long time. This Pluto in Aquarius is going to be rocking the air sign until 2044. So, so you have to think about how old you're going to be in 15 to 20 years. So if we're all adding 15 to 20 years, some of us may not be around. And then if obviously we're thinking of our young children or grandchildren, they will be around in 15 or 20 years, and then they'll be starting their lives. But and then Pluto will go in Pisces. So Pluto Aquarius, it's only affecting the early fixed sign placements for at least the next 2 to 3 years. So everybody's just you got to just be patient and hang in there. So if you have an early degree, like a 0 or 1 or 2 degree or 3 degree Aquarius planet, or you have an early Taurus planet, or early Leo, or early Scorpio, that Pluto will conjunct Aquarius because it's the same sign. Conjunction is the same sign. It will oppose Leo because Leo and Aquarius are opposed in the polarity in the zodiac. It will square Taurus on the wheel. It squares it by degree, and it also squares Scorpio. So think about that. So the fixed signs, probably more than anything else in the next year or two, the fixed signs are the most prominently influenced, if you will. Probably not so much the cardinal signs, because we're now done with the Pluto and Capricorn for the most part. And those Capricorn planets that we have now are going to change, and they're going to go into Aquarius and then Pisces. So that Pluto and Aquarius, if anybody knows of your fixed signs that are early on, you're going to get, that's powerful, and that's going to change that arena of your chart. You're going to see how something in that arena of your chart is going to change, or you're going to have the ability to change something. You're going to have the will or the power of it, but it might be uncomfortable. Now, let's say someone had a Venus at 0 of Aquarius in their chart. So they had Venus placed in Aquarius, but let's say it was at 0 or 1 degree. So that would be a cusp planet. So that would have traits of a Capricorn Venus, which is kind of reserved and cautious. And it would also have traits of an Aquarius Venus, which likes things very kind of light and free, and might like multiple love partners, and maybe wouldn't want to be married and want to be free and single to do what they want, um, romantically. So it would be a combination of Capricorn and Aquarius. But if Pluto was right on that person's Venus right now, most likely their love nature would be exploding. Something would be exploding, either for the good or bad. Most likely it would be something that would be ending that's not good. If it's not of value or substance, Pluto would probably just obliterate it and just let it dissolve. So if someone has the Venus in Aquarius, um, or even a Mars in Aquarius, which is your energy, Venus and Mars for sex and love, um, wow, that's powerful. But of course, the squares and the opposition are also powerful as well. So if you want me in a future live stream or even do a video just on that, maybe I'll do like a lesson on on the fixed signs and kind of how that plays out in a chart sort of thing. And that would be easier to show you if I could share the computer screen, and you could sort of use the screen as a template. But yeah, that's probably the most noteworthy. I mean, I'm going to be talking about this Pluto and Aquarius probably every single week in my live streams for months to come, because there's just so much to talk about. And because it's hitting this fixed signs, it's also very, very prominent with the transits, because Uranus is still in Taurus for a while. Uranus is all about change because it's Aquarius, and Jupiter is in Taurus. Jupiter is still in Taurus. Jupiter is the growth principle and the expansive principle in our cosmic chart right now, and it's in Taurus. So, I mean, all that Taurus there, the Pluto's now in a fixed sign. There's no major Leo. We have the Earth planet. It's just an Earth focal point, which is in Leo. I don't think that does too much to influence the cosmos right now. And then Scorpio, the moon is in Scorpio tonight. The moon is transiting through Scorpio. So she's going through her monthly transit in the dark sign of Scorpio tonight. Tomorrow it should be in Sag. And Scorpio is just on a house cusp as it moves, but there's no major Scorpio. But Pluto is Scorpio's planet, so there's always that transformation. But the Pluto, Uranus, and Jupiter being in the fixed signs, that's very prominent. And then Saturn, of course, is in Pisces, still at 6 degrees in the mutable sign of Pisces. So that adds a little looseness, makes the sextile to Taurus a little looser, and Aquarius and Pisces sit right next to each other in the zodiac. So that's kind of interesting. But I think we're going to wrap up here. I think I'm kind of losing my voice here. We're at just over the hour mark. And since there's no other people in the room, I don't think I'll talk for another 15 or 20 minutes. But thank you so much. This was Astroscoop's live stream number 6. I really appreciate it. I might do a live stream this week in it's probably just going to be impromptu. I won't be able to give a lot of notice. So if you don't catch me live, you can just catch the replay right afterwards. It would most likely be either this Thursday coming, a lunchtime, either a 12 or a 1 p.m. Live stream, or I might do a Friday live stream instead of Saturday, and I might do that earlier, like a 6 or 7 p.m. But I'll see. But until the next time, stay safe and be yourself. And happy birthday to all Aquarius people. Thank you so much. I'll see you when I see you. Be well.